the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Time to talk about the schedule. Gonna go with a schedule breakdown today because just yesterday, the schedule was released for the entire NFL. And with that came the San Francisco 49ers schedule. And how exactly does it play out for the 49ers? Well, that's what we're going to get into in this episode. I want to talk about 49ers matchups, some of the games that are going to be exciting, go through some of the things that I've picked up as I've let this schedule resonate in my mind, and also just some of the details that come out about the schedule the longer it's out. The more the schedule's out, the more you learn from it. So it's nice that we're going to be talking about the schedule today and kind of get an idea of what's next for the San Francisco 49ers, some of those key games that we're going to get excited about, some of the travel, some of the game time, some of the primetime games. I always love when we get into the schedule because it means we're inching closer to the regular season. And ultimately, that's what NFL fans want. We want to get to the season where things happen. It's always exciting when you first get into the offseason and you're talking about the draft, and it brings up a renewal of hope that your team is going to eventually win the Super Bowl. But then when you get into the middle of the offseason, especially once you get to when the schedule comes out, then you want games to happen. And so now we're going to get an idea of what matchups we're going to have win, and that can play a big part in how games go. If you're playing on the East Coast at in December and November, there's a potential that you're going to deal with weather concerns. Are you going to Florida or one of these hot places, during the first part of the year? Are you going in September? Those things play a part in how your team prepares. It was just a couple years ago, the 49ers had a game in Mexico City where they had to deal with elevation. So they traveled to Colorado so that way they could go up and get some of the elevation work for practice. So there's lots of things that you have to consider. There's also the customary attempt by the 49ers to get 2 East time zone games that they can stay on the East Coast. They usually stay at Greenbrier or they stay in Youngstown. Is that a possibility for this? We're going to get into all that. We're going to talk about everything that has to do with the 49ers schedule and start breaking it down. And of course, as we move on through the week, we'll go through other steps as well. We'll get into this roster inside and out. We'll get into the schedule inside and out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys are locked and ready to go. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. And as you can see, I have the preseason games down there at the bottom. And as we go through the schedule, I'll make sure to put the games that we're talking about as we go through, 1 through 17, or as this would be, weeks 1 through 18. 49ers, of course, have a bye week. As of right now, that's what happens every single year. 49ers look to see where their bye week is going to be. And 2019, it was week 4. But later on, the other seasons, it's been later in the season. And that's what the 49ers are always looking at when it comes to the bye week. For the 49ers, it's going to be week 9 bye week, as they're going to be able to rest. It's been coming up the last 2 years on that first weekend in November, and that has been the norm. And I'm pretty familiar with it because that's my birthday weekend. So that is the normal weekend. Now, it's a little bit earlier. It's November 3rd this time. But very good weekend for the 49ers to have a bye. They're going to be coming off some very pivotal football games. So let's talk about this schedule a little bit. For those of you who haven't seen, we have the San Francisco 49ers starting with the Tennessee Titans in preseason. So they haven't determined what exactly the date and time are going to be for that game, but it's going to be in Tennessee. That will be week 1. And week 2 of the preseason, they're going to play the New Orleans Saints, and that's going to be at home at Levi's. Now, here's the interesting part of it. The 49ers are going to be doing joint practices with the New Orleans Saints as well. Talked about that a little bit on a previous episode, but they're going to be doing it in Irvine, California, not in the Bay Area. So the San Francisco 49ers are going to do joint practices with New Orleans before their game at Levi Stadium in week 2, August 18th at 5 p.m. And so 49ers preseason looking good so far. And then they're going to wrap it up at the Raiders. So last year they played the Raiders in preseason in week 2 and had joint practices with them. This year they're going to finish it off in Las Vegas for that game. Of course, that is to be determined as well. Usually ends up being a Thursday night matchup for the 49ers. We'll see if that ends up being Thursday or Friday when it comes to the Raiders. So preseason, now officially we know who they're going to play. We have an idea what the Saints game is going to be because joint practices with the Saints and then it happening in Levi. So that is a done deal. When you're looking at weeks 1 through 3, the San Francisco 49ers are going to be playing the New York Jets on Monday Night Football, and that's going to be a fun one. We're going to have some really cool things to go in that one. Aaron Rodgers coming to town, Javon Kinlaw. There's other guys, Solomon Thomas, Isaiah Oliver, lots of former players, Robert Saleh, former coach. So that one's going to be exciting to see how exactly the San Francisco 49ers play against Aaron Rodgers and the rest of them on that Monday night game. So primetime games, the San Francisco 49ers received a maximum 6 primetime games. It used to be 5, now it's 6 primetime games, just illustrating how good the NFL and the schedule makers believe the San Francisco 49ers are, because you want matchups that are going to be very good for ratings. And the San Francisco 49ers bring ratings, but they also bring one of the best fan bases in the entire NFL as far as traveling. And as we found out recently, spending money on alcohol. 49ers, the number 1 fan base spending their money on alcohol in the entire league. So concession stands, be ready when there's away games. 49er fans are coming to help you out with that. So the way the 49ers fans travel and the way that the 49ers team has played since 2019, I know 2020 is an anomaly, puts them right up there to have primetime games, and the 49ers were awarded 6. They were awarded 2 Sunday night games against the Cowboys and Bills. We'll go over the specifics of those in a minute. They were awarded 2 Monday night games versus the Jets and Lions, and you see the Jets week 1. That's going to be the first matchup. And then 2 Thursday night games, one against the Rams and one against the Seahawks. So 2 divisional matchups that are going to be on Thursday night. One of them is at Seattle. The other one is at home versus the Rams, I believe. So 49ers getting their primetime schedule 2 Sunday nights, 2 Monday nights, 2 Thursday nights. The 2 Thursday night games usually are nerve-wracking. You don't get the same amount of rest you would normally get. You don't have the same amount of time for preparation. But we do know that Kyle Shanahan likes when he plays Thursday night games for the fact that they get a mini bye after that. So that's something that I'm sure the 49ers would really enjoy about this. Part of it is the 49ers get mini buys, and that's important. You want to make sure that you stay healthy and that you feel comfortable. Now, the Vikings are going to be week 2. So Jets, Monday Night Football showdown. Everyone's going to be watching that opening weekend. But then you get the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. So tough turnaround for the San Francisco 49ers. You're going from playing Monday night against the Jets to playing early on Sunday when you have to travel to Minnesota. That's a little bit tough, but you're probably going to be going against Sam Darnold as a starting quarterback of Minnesota. So it makes for an interesting matchup. Brock Purdy versus Sam Darnold, the reclamation project for Kyle Shanahan last season. And now he's going to be running that team up there in Minnesota unless J.J. McCarthy can take his spot and start. In that case, Nick Bosa will be chasing a rookie quarterback. So it could be a lot of fun. You definitely want to catch them early in the season Last year it didn't work out. Cousins played absolutely fantastic against the 49ers, but you don't have to worry about that. You also have some things that have changed along that defensive front as players have moved on to other and better situations. So Danielle Hunter's not going to be there to get in Brock Purdy's face. 49ers, probably like that. Now, that game is at a 10 a.m. start time, West Coast time. So if you're on the West Coast, 49ers body clocks will be West Coast. 10 a.m. start time is tough, and this has been a problem for years with teams that are on the West Coast that have to travel, is those 10 a.m. start times. Well, the 49ers only have two 10 a.m. start times this season. The one in Week 2 versus Minnesota, which is going to be tough, and then a Week 10 matchup versus Tampa Bay, which won't be as tough because the Week 9 bye for the San Francisco 49ers are going to make it very easy for them to be able to travel and get out there and for their body clocks to be right. They're not coming off a short sleep period or a short week. They're going to be prepared. So if it could end up one way, that's a good way. This is very all about the schedule the way it was last year with Jacksonville. 49ers coming off a bye, headed to Florida, played Jacksonville in an early start time game, and absolutely dominated. So that's something that the 49ers can definitely look at and be like, okay, that is very good news for our football team. The fact that we're going to have, a 10 a.m. start time coming off a bye, we definitely like that happens. So that's huge. And, playing teams off of byes is huge. In Week 3, the San Francisco 49ers play the Los Angeles Rams. They're at the Rams. So if you're going to have back-to-back away games, having the second part of it be a easy trip down to LA is definitely what you're looking for. And I'm not talking easy as in the opponent. I'm talking easy as in the travel. San Francisco 49ers will have a big game there against the Los Angeles Rams. And we'll see what that team looks like without Aaron Donald and while some of the guys up front. They did a really good job drafting. They added a lot of Florida State talent along their defensive line. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. But yeah, 49ers are going to get Rams, an early divisional matchup in Week 3 down in LA. In Week 4, they welcome the Patriots. So Kendrick Bourne, come on in. It's going to be a different look. Different team. No Bill Belichick. This will be the first time the Patriots have come to San Francisco without Bill Belichick at the helm. And, of course, the 49ers haven't really played too many matchups with the Patriots in recent memory. But they're going to be coming to town, and this is a normal 1 o'clock start time on Fox. You're going to have young quarterback, potentially a Drake May starting. You want to get them early. You want to get after them before they get acclimated to the NFL. Go ahead and put a little pressure on them, make it tough. So Week 4, New England Patriots seems like a winnable matchup for the 49ers and a welcome matchup coming off a game against division rival Los Angeles Rams in LA, or as we like to call it, Levi South, the week before. So Patriots are going to wind down September, and then the 49ers are going to play the Arizona Cardinals. So Arizona Cardinals, what are they going to look like this year? Kyler Murray's going to be at the helm. They've added some talent at the wide receiver position, especially in the draft. So they're an interesting team. They're an upstart team. 49ers normally do very, very good against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals will be coming to town. So 49ers have back-to-back home games. So they start at home on Monday night. They have 2 road games. Then they go home. So that's pretty nice. Some home cooking there at the beginning of October. And then they head to Seattle in a Thursday night game. And like I brought up, that's one of 2 Thursday night games for the 49ers. Both are NFC West games. So that's, interesting that you're going to have this situation where you're going to have Thursday night games. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but the 49ers have had real success against the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night. Brock Purdy is 4-0, and his first victory over Seattle was in Seattle with a broken rib. And he was able to get it done and play through the pain and win. So 49ers have had the number of the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, there are some changes that have happened up there. McDonald is the new head coach. Pete Carroll is no longer there. They've continued to draft well along the defensive and offensive fronts. So they're trying to catch up to the 49ers, and the 49ers have to go out there and prove that they can't. This will be that first test, and it'll be the first run through. This would mean the 49ers have played the Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks. So by this time in Week 6, you have an idea of who the best in the West is. The 49ers have won all three. You got to feel like the 49ers still have control over this division, but Seattle game in Seattle at that point of time is pretty good. Should be a fun matchup for the 49ers, and see if they can get that big win against Seattle in week 6. In week 7, the San Francisco 49ers welcome the Kansas City Chiefs. And you said, well, we played the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to get a mini bye. That should set us up nice against the Chiefs. Not so fast, my friend. The San Francisco 49ers coming off a mini bye. Great. Kansas City Chiefs are coming off a full bye. So the 49ers match up and rematch with the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch is coming when the Chiefs are on full rest and the 49ers are coming on a mini bye. If you're going to have a team coming off a bye, you coming off a mini bye is a way to at least alleviate some of the disadvantage that you're going to be suffering. But no excuses. You got to go out there and you got to win. You got to go beat Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You've got to block Chris Jones. And I think the 49ers are going to be highly motivated for this game, and it's going to be very important that they win for their own psyche. Winning this football game will get their mindset in order and know that they can possibly beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think everyone in that locker room last year believes they should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But belief doesn't get it done. You have to go out there and actually prove it. And the 49ers know that's what they have to do. So this is going to be a huge game. 49ers are going to be highly motivated for this matchup against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have a tough schedule along the way, but they're going to be coming off an early bye. Be nice if the 49ers could stick them with a loss. Now, this isn't a conference game. They're in the AFC, so it doesn't hold as much weight as some other games as far as when it comes to playoff seeding. But when it comes to mental psyche, it's going to have a huge impact on how the 49ers operate. So I look for the 49ers to be highly motivated to get this win and potentially take out the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, when it comes to rest and it comes to some of the buys and things like that, the 49ers are going to play 4 teams off buys. Chiefs are one of them, which is the same as last season. So 49ers last year had played 4 teams coming off buys. They did pretty well in those games. This year, it's the same way. In rest, they have disadvantage in rest. It means time between games against Kansas City, Dallas, who's also going to be coming off a bye, and that's who we're talking about next, Buffalo, Seattle, Arizona. So those are something to remember. And then this game, of course, was Kansas City coming off a bye, 49ers coming off a mini bye. 49ers have a rest advantage playing against Tampa Bay because they'll be coming off a bye, and Miami. So 49ers will have a couple opportunities to have a rest advantage. How much does that play into it? I don't know. As we get longer into the season, potentially that could be something that's significant as far as your body being able to rest. But 49ers did pretty well in that category last year, but it's definitely something that people are consistently looking at as far as rest advantages and disadvantages has become more common when looking at the NFL schedule. Week 9 bye is going to be big for the 49ers, so you can see it coming up here after the Cowboys. But the 49ers are going to travel the 5th most in the NFL this year, 24,575 miles, and cover 28 time zones. When you play on the West Coast, there's less teams here. That's just what's going to happen. So 49ers are they're going to be doing some traveling. The good news is it's only 5th most, and right around them is the Seahawks and also the Rams. They're doing a lot of traveling as well. So no huge advantage in the NFC West when it comes to travel. Maybe Arizona, who's at 13. So that's something to remember when you're talking about travel, is how much rest the 49ers are going to have. But they're going to go through 28 time zones. It's pretty interesting. So Dallas Cowboys come to town on Sunday Night Football, and that's going to be an absolute blast. October 27th, week 8, they're coming to town to play the 49ers, and the 49ers don't have to hold anything back. They got a bye week they're going into. They're going to want to get this win. Now, Dallas is going to be highly motivated after what happened last year, where the 49ers absolutely embarrassed them in their big Sunday night showdown. 49ers smoked them from the beginning of the game till the end. So Cowboys are highly motivated. We know Jerry Jones wanted to play the 49ers early because he wants to get a victory and he wants to set the mindset that they're the best in the NFC. They barely beat the Lions last year, got upset in the playoffs. I think the Cowboys got a long ways to go. But this is going to be a fun one. Anytime you see the star and you see the San Francisco 49ers in a game, it's just going to be a blast. And 49ers know what they have to do. You hear Parsons, he's always got something to say. Dak Prescott, we don't know what's going to happen there. It's going to be a fun game for the 49ers. I'm looking forward to it. Then they go week 9 by a much-needed rest, and that's going to be huge, right? In the part of the season where you want to get a rest. You played 8 games, and now you get a break before you play the last 9. That's important. A couple weeks later would have been really good, but usually it comes at the right time, and you're coming off games versus the Seahawks, the Chiefs, and the Cowboys, which means that's a tough stretch. Having a bye is going to be very pivotal. Then you head to the Buccaneers coming out of the bye. They won their division last year. A lot of people might forget they won the NFC South with Baker Mayfield. So 49ers are going to be heading to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is a 10 a.m. start time, and that's going to be interesting to see how the 49ers respond. Is it the same as Jacksonville and it jump starts a big winning streak, or is Tampa Bay going to be tough? 49ers beat Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last season. So I got to feel like the 49ers feel confident going into that game, and it's a good time to go to Florida in November. Potentially it won't be as hot. We know the weather should be a little bit better. So good news for the 49ers going to Tampa Bay in November. Then the 49ers welcome the Seattle Seahawks to town on November 17th. It's just a normal 1 o'clock start time, but a big game in a divisional matchup. And we'll see what the 49ers or Seahawks have learned from their previous matchup that they had 5 weeks prior, 6 weeks prior, because you had the bye week. So it's going to be a fun one. 49ers versus Seahawks is always great, and 49ers potentially could put the Seahawks down as far as the divisional race. That's what you're looking for. Then it gets interesting. 49ers travel to the Green Bay Packers, and after last season and what happened in the playoffs, this one has definitely got a little bit more juicy. Jordan Love and that Green Bay Packers team played absolutely phenomenal against the 49ers in the playoffs, but the 49ers were able to withstand and they were able to win. It's another reason it's interesting. It's in Green Bay in November before Thanksgiving weekend. So it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, and the 49ers are going to go to Lambeau. It's going to be cold. Hopefully it's not snowy like that divisional matchup we remember from a few years ago. Hopefully it's decent weather for the 49ers when they get there, and hopefully no rain. We don't know if Brock Purdy's gotten better throwing a wet football yet, so elements could play a factor. Going to the East Coast at that time of the year can be difficult. So the 49ers kind of get out of it when it comes to going to Florida early in the season, because we talked about Tampa Bay being November 10th. Miami, we're still going to talk about in a minute. So temperatures heat-wise shouldn't be a problem for the 49ers, but it looks like cold and weather could play a huge part of the schedule once we come out of the bye week, especially once you get to week 12 and you're playing the Green Bay Packers. But all those great receivers, Matt LaFleur, changes on the defensive side of the ball. Devondre Campbell headed back to Green Bay. Jordan Love, a young quarterback versus Brock Purdy. It just writes itself. It's going to be an absolutely fun matchup in Green Bay. Then the 49ers are going to head to Buffalo, and they're going to play a Sunday night matchup versus the Buffalo Bills on December 1st. December in Buffalo, that's a tough draw for the 49ers. That's not exactly the best weather situation. Now, this is also the time when most people would look at the schedule and say, hey, they're playing in Green Bay, they're playing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. 49ers might stay on the East Coast. I don't think that is a actual possibility this time. I think it would make sense strategically, but right in the middle of that is Thanksgiving. You're not going to stay away from the families on Thanksgiving. You want to get them home, allow them to sleep in their beds, allow them to be with their families, shoot the coaches as well, and let them be comfortable. Go out there, get that win against Green Bay, come back, go through your normal schedule, and then enjoy Thanksgiving later in the week, and then get out to Buffalo and try to get that win. It's a Sunday night game, so you're going to have a little bit extra time in travel, but go ahead and do that. But this is a tough back-to-back as far as being able to win these games on the East Coast. And Green Bay, of course, is more important than the Buffalo Bills because of the conference record. 49ers ultimately want to get the first-round bye. Easier to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl than win 3. So that's going to play huge in their factor of winning that game. So I know they'd rather win Green Bay than Buffalo if they had to choose one, but you'd love to win both. So I look for the 49ers to go to Green Bay, then come back, then head out to Buffalo. They love to beat Josh Allen and that football team. That's going to be an excellent game on Sunday night. Matchups that are going to be fun all over the place. Last time the 49ers played the Bills, Josh Allen went off and smoked them. Different incarnation of the 49ers. It's a lot different now, but we'll have a really good idea. One thing that's interesting is Seattle kicks off 2 of the 3 game stretches that are tough during the season. Early on, week 6, Seattle, 49ers play at Seattle on Thursday night. Then they play the Chiefs Cowboys. Tough 3 game stretch. And then now in week 11, they play the Seahawks, then the Packers, then the Bills. Another tough 3 game stretch. And Seattle is kind of starting each one of those 3 game stretches out. That'll be tough for the 49ers. Then the 49ers welcome Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears to Santa Clara to take on Brock Purdy and the 49ers. So first look at Caleb Williams and this new team, Roma Dunze. They've got a lot of talent that they've added to their football team. They still got DJ Moore. It's going to be a good one, and there's going to be matchups to talk about when we get there. We'll see how good the Chicago Bears are playing at that point in the season, but get the Bears to come out. One of the games I went to at Candlestick was when Mike Singletary was coaching, and the Chicago Bears came to town. It was a fun game. I really enjoyed it. So it's always fun. Bears fans are exciting. They usually travel pretty well. And when you're in the crowd, you hear a lot of the Bears. And so it's gonna be fun to have that game and see what Caleb Williams is doing in the NFL. Exciting young player. Week 15, 49ers versus Rams, and this one could be for the division. You've already finished your games against Seattle. You've made the cycle through once. This is the second cycle. You played Seattle the second time. Now you play the Rams, and the 49ers win this football game. You got to think they're probably locking up the NFC West, and you have to make sure you win the NFC West. That's the most important thing. That's a for sure shot, for sure key to get into the playoffs. So 49ers versus Rams at San Francisco on Thursday Night Football, so Prime TV for that one. So 49ers in their Thursday nights there, which means they get a mini bye for the next week. And that's exactly what you have to get is a mini bye because you're going to play the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. And this should be an exciting one. Speed, 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 and more speed for the Miami Dolphins. Even speed on defense. So 49ers are going to head there before Christmas, and they're going to take on Miami. The good news is it's a mini bye. It's always fun to see this matchup. The last time the 49ers and Dolphins played, Brock Purdy debuted and was able to handle the Dolphins, and the 49ers got a big win against the Miami Dolphins, who were as hot as could be at the time in 2022. So that's the 49ers' big trip that they have remaining in Florida. Then they come back, and they're going to play the Detroit Lions in a rematch of the NFC Championship game. That is December 30th. It's a Monday Night Football matchup. And the 49ers versus Lions it's going to be huge. It could be for the conference number 1 seed. Who's going to win that football game? Now, Detroit could be pushing to win because they're trying to hold off the Packers, or they could be trying to catch the Packers. And for the 49ers, it could be them trying to win and get home field advantage. So it's going to be a huge game. Everyone remembers last year's NFC Championship game. Hey, this is going to be locked and loaded. Great, fantastic matchup between two teams. Have the 49ers figured out defensively how to stop Detroit? Has Detroit got enough weapons and made enough improvements in their secondary to be a team that can hang with the 49ers? I think they did a pretty good job, but we'll see what happens. I don't expect the 49ers to come out as flat and struggle as much in the first half of that game as they did the NFC Championship game. So it could be an entirely different game, but I'm excited for that one. And then the 49ers in at Arizona against the Arizona Cardinals. And that one is to be determined, but the truth is it's going to be Sunday. They're playing Monday night versus the Lions. I can't see the 49ers trying to have them play on Saturday, that's for sure. And I don't expect it to be flexed. So I think the 49ers will play Sunday. I'm guessing a 1:25 start time or 1:05 start time, Pacific time, and they'll play the Arizona Cardinals. Conceivably, the 49ers could have things locked up and that game not be as meaningful as sometimes is at the end of the season. The way the Rams game wasn't as meaningful last year for the 49ers. It did help the Rams get in the playoffs and with their seeding, but I think this one could be the same way. I don't know who the Cardinals are going to be. I've seen people picking the Cardinals to win some of these games. I don't think the 49ers will lose unless they're resting starters. If they have to win this game, I believe they would go out there and get it done. So it's a fun schedule for the 49ers. 49ers end up with 6 primetime games. They're going to be shown in a lot of different formats. They're going to be Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, 2 each. They're not traveling as much as before. No holiday games for the San Francisco 49ers. So if that was tough for you last year with your family, you don't have to worry about that this time. So it's good news for the 49ers. And more content coming out about the schedule. I want to get into more about the matchups and some of those things. So be on the lookout for that. I also want to talk about which games are the toughest, which games are presumably the easiest for the 49ers in must win and games you shouldn't lose type situations. I appreciate you guys all for coming through. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, which is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're going to bet, use Bet Online, because Bet Online is the one who presents this show, and Bet Online is where the game starts. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.